Okay. Ya, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, students. This morning we are going to learn about the communication. Yes. Last week you have been learned about the language, which is a mean or the media of communication. And today we are going to learn about communication wholly. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let's start from the theory of communication. Okay, what's communication? We even hear about communication or komunikasi, right? You have also learned it on your subject, right? Business communication. So what's the real of communication? Okay. So here I want to show you some definitions of communication that defined by some scholars or some expert of communication. One of them is Kate Nystrom, on the book of Human Behavior at Work Organizational Behavior, that communication is the transfer, the transfer of information and understanding from one person to another person. Yeah, the key is transfer of information and understanding from one person to another person. So it is a way of reaching others with ideas, facts, thoughts, feeling, and values. Yeah. It is a bridge of meaning among people so that they can share what they feel and know. So here we can see that Keith and Nystrom stated that the main point of communication is the transfer of information. And then from one person to another person. And then what's the goal? What's the purpose? What's the objective of the communication is to reach others with ideas. Yeah, there are ideas. It could be facts, it could be thoughts, it could be feelings, even it could be values. So the name of communication is not only about transferring one information to another. Yeah, the information could be ideas, could be facts, could be thoughts, and also feelings, which is, we know that feeling, it's relates to our heart. Yeah, something in our heart, right? And then values can't be seen, right? Can you mention kinds of or the example of values? Maybe Safira, can you mention one kind of values? Values, for example, respect to others, right? To be honest, right? And then be responsible. It's kind of values and it can't be seen, right? As ideas, as information which is written or oral, right? But also values. So it is a bridge to get meaning, to get know from the fact, from the ideas, from the thoughts, from the feeling and values, that then the other can get meaning. What's the meaning of the values? What's the meaning of feelings? What's the meaning of thoughts, facts, and ideas, so that they can share what they feel and not only feel, but also know. So here is the definition of David Kate and Nystrom's about the communication. Then let's see the other definition from Schermerhorn, with the book of Introduction to Management. He said that communication is the process of sending and receiving symbols with meaning attached. So we can see these definitions has been something similar with the previous before. Yeah, it should be process, it should be sending and receiving, and also symbols. Yeah, symbols here means that any kinds of media, of means, any kinds of channel, right? It could be written, it could be oral, it could be non-verbal, yeah, but it has meaning. Any kinds of process, sending and receiving symbol. Symbols here can be defined as information, perhaps feeling, perhaps a value, but Sherman here didn't mention, yeah, clearly the meaning of symbol, but we can define it at some informations or understanding which has meaning. Then, okay, what about the next definition? Let's see. Shut it down, yeah, shut it down, and at all stated that communication entails the transfer of information from one person, which is called the sender, to another, which called as receiver, by some chosen method over the channel. So you can see the red one that I underline the definition portion. Then you can compare with the previous definition. We know there is information from someone to another, which he defines someone here, the sender, and then another, the receiver, with chosen method. With some chosen method or the channel. Yeah? Then I will tell you what's the meaning of method or the channel later. But the main point from all of the scholar or the expert said, yeah, we have some clues, right, in defining this term. It is communication. There is process, there is transformation or transferring, there is information and then understanding, and then from one person to another, and then with method or channel, and then has meaning, right? Okay. So, okay, before that, so students, from some kinds of communication, we can conclude, yeah, we can make a conclusion, what is communication? So, based on some expert that I have seen you before, we can define communication is the process of transferring information, ideas, and then facts, thoughts, and then feelings, even values from someone to another, which is called sender, to the receiver by some chosen method with meaning attached. So it should be meaning attached, yeah, because if it is without meaning, it can't be understood by the receiver, right? And if it is not understood, it doesn't mean communication. It's not communication. Okay. Then the next is about the basis of communication. From previous definition, we can conclude that there are two phases in communication itself. The first one is transmission, yeah, transferring any kinds of information, and then ideas, and then facts, and then feelings, and then thoughts, and then what else? Value even, yeah. So shared, yeah. All that what I said are shared by two people or more people. It should be transmission phase. And then the second is about feedback. Feedback is something really important, because without any feedback, the communication is not run well. So there must be from one another to another. Yeah. So feedbacks mean here a common understanding that is assured, whether what for example, whether what I'm talking about, what I'm explaining about to be understood or not by my students. So you are as the receiver, yeah, you you need to assure whether you understand what I'm talking about. So in communication, it needs feedback. Yeah, and any kind of feedback, it could be verbal or informal. Even if you just said like this, you just doing like this, it is a feedback. Or just gesturing like me, yeah, it is also feedback. Or even saying yes. Do you love me? Do you hate me? Yes, no. Yeah, it is feedback also. All right. Then what about the communication basic form? Yeah, the form of communication consisted of verbal and non-verbal communication. Yeah, let's see what's the verbal communication. The verbal communication is the use of sounds. It means if we talk about sound, something out from our mouth, it is orally, right? And then the use of words. And then it is developed into sentences, and then developed into paragraph, and then it is developed into a writing. So verbal communication is the use of oral and written to express yourself, to express your ideas, to express your facts, to express your thoughts, to express your values, your feelings by oral or written. Even saying no, saying yes, which we know that it is only two words, right? N-O, only two words, N-O, or even one words, I, right? I, or in bahasa saya, in English, I, it is only one word, right? When someone asks you to do something and you don't want to do, and then you say no, or I, for example, it is also kinds of verbal communication. So verbal communication, repeat again, yeah, it is the use of sounds, oral and words to express yourself. Yeah, yourselves here can be defined as the definition of communication. Okay. Okay. Well, students, in doing business communication verbally, we know that in our workplace, there should be the manager, there should be a subordinate or the worker. Communication influence the situation among them, among business, right? So we need communication in our workplace, even from the manager to the worker, from the worker to the manager, and then from the worker among the worker, right? So how we try to put a verbal business communication in the right place. So as we know that, based on some research, there is 45% of us in our workplace is use listening in our communication. It means that in communication, 4 skills of language, it is listening, and then speaking, and then reading, and then writing. All these skills are involved in doing in business communication. And 45% of us doing listening during working in the workplace. And what about speaking? It is 30% of the workers doing speaking skill. They do the speaking skills. And only 16% of reading skills. and only 9% of writing. Yeah, moreover, the manager, they did it. 45% for listening what the workers said, what the workers complain, they do this. So listening is become something really important for a manager to get verbal business communication, because the proportion of listening is 45%. Most of the manager do it more than the other skills. And then speaking, 30%. Why? Because commonly the manager speaks much, they instruct something to his or her employee, right? They have some instruction that should be spoken by himself to the others. They order something, right? So it is important, yeah, also for the manager to know how to speak clearly, to speak well, that will be understood by the employer, okay, by the employee, I mean. And then it is only 16% of the manager doing reading, because it relates to the works of the manager itself, which is only not technically doing a job, doing some jobs, right? Some managers doing listening the complaining from the employee, and then they only order, they instruct something, then will be done, will be read, will be written by their employee. So it is only 16% of manager doing reading. Perhaps the employee, yeah, the worker will do it then after she or he accept order of the manager to read something. And then it is on 9% of the manager doing writing. Yeah, perhaps in doing some detailed job, the manager didn't do that, right? The employee, the worker do that. The employee, the secretary, the officer who write perhaps some paper, or maybe reports, business report, or even some letters or email for communication and else. So here the activities of verbal business communication that mostly the manager do at the workplace. Because of that, listening skill become one of the most important tools of manager communication. Yeah, both to employees and then to customers, because the manager mostly 45% listen the report, listen the complaints, listen the good or bad news, right? So listening is kind of skills of receiving messages, to accurately grasp fact and feelings, to interpret the genuine meaning. This is the definition of meaning. Yeah, this is kinds of skill, language skills of receiving message, receiving information, receiving facts, receiving ideas, receiving feelings, receiving values of the worker. So it's something important for a manager to have listening skills, right? What about the issue of the company? What about the VAC of his or her company? What's about the complaining? What's about the feelings of the worker about the company, any kinds of that. Yeah, to interpret the genuine meaning. What's the meaning of, for example, in a company, a manager see that his or her employee, her worker, didn't have good spirit to work. What does it mean? They silent, they be silent. What's the meaning of silent? What's the meaning of no spiritful? It means that as a manager, he has to think, he has to do something to motivate, right? To support again his employee. So he needs to listen the situation. He needs to listen any kinds of behaviors, attitude, condition to get the meaning of this situation. So what's the keys for effective listening? Because as we know that listening is really important, not only for manager in workplace, but also for us in our daily routine activity, right? So how's the key for effective listening? Because in our daily life, we also do the listening to get communication with others, right? To know the meaning, what the others say about, we have to listen, right? So it's something really urgent to know, to increase our listening skill. So the first one is listen actively. When you are as a listener, guys, pay attention by actively listen. What is the speaker talk about? It means that you have to you have to maximize your ear, right? Your ear function. So if you have something problem with your ear, you need to go to the doctor and then you check what's wrong with your ear, with your listening. Yeah, make sure that your ear is well, then you can listen actively. Because if you have some problem, yeah, for some people that can't hear well, they must be getting the problem in listening something, right? And it should be a problem too in his communication. Okay, so listen actively means here something relates to your ear physically, right? Then you focus active to listen what the people say about something. And then the second one is finding the interest of the area. Find areas of interest. Okay, if we do the communication, if we talk with someone others, and one of you don't like about a topic that is spoken, yeah, perhaps you dislike about the topic that your friends talking to you about, it means that you didn't find any areas of interest. Then you will be only silent, right? No giving some comments or respond, because you are not so spiritful. You are not interested to listen the topic, right? So finding the areas of interest is something important. So how's the way to find areas of interest? Perhaps you know that everybody has its own interest, has its own hobby, right? So talking about the hobby that you like most, for example, or any kinds of subject that it's relate or relevant with your needs could be away, right? And then the third one is resist the distraction. Distractions here, any kinds of problem that can destroy, that can resist your listening skill. Perhaps the barrier, the problems, yeah? The barrier relates to the noisy, the barrier or the problem relates to your self, your ear self, right? Something problem with your ear, your listening, or perhaps your concentrations. So you need to resist, you need to minimize any kinds of problem that will influence your listening activity. Then capitalize on the fact that thought is faster than speech. Do you understand this meaning? Capitalize both the fact that thought here on your mind, right? Thought will be faster than speech. Wait a minute. Okay, right? Capitalize on the fact that thought, your mind, any kinds of your mind, we can say it is intrapersonal, that I will explain you later. The intrapersonal communication or thought or mind is faster than speech, right? What you are thinking about will be faster than what you are talking about. Yeah, can you imagine that situation, which that your mind will be faster than your mouth? Yeah, what you are going to say is slower than what you are thinking about. You have any kinds of thoughts, you have many things of thoughts or mind about something, for example. Yeah, but you can't say anything on your mouth, as if your mouth is locked. Yeah, so by understanding this situation between thought and speech, we have to arrange both of them. We have to arrange our thought, our mind to be synchronized with our speech. What you are thinking about should be synchronized with what you are going to speak about. And it needs drilling, right? You have your mind is full of things. Your mind is full of any kinds of thoughts, any kinds of ideas, right? But it is difficult for you to say something in a good communication. How to communicate that? Yeah, how to arrange your mind into words, into sentences, into your speech. So we should be balanced that. Make sure, because for example, in doing the presentation itself, yeah, you have many ideas that you want to share. But you have problem in stating your ideas. It can relate to the limited vocabularies, for example, right? Perhaps it could be relates to physics, yeah, relates to your mouth, or relates, there is no synchronized between thought and speech. Something wrong with your mind, something wrong with your speech. Okay. Then the next step is be responsive. So as a good listener, guys, when you talk with someone, make sure that you will be responsive to be a good listener. responsive, the response of the listener can be shown, right? Can be shown by the expression of yourself as a listener, your mimics, right? Your face, your eyes contact, your gesture, your body language, right? Vice versa, if you don't respond to what others talking about, it means that you just keep silent, no response, no expression, no eye contact, no feelings of amaze, for example, right? And then we can see the responsive here from physically and then non-physically. Physically relates to the expression, mimics, eye contact, and then non-physically can relate to whether you or as listener respond the communication or not, by answering, by responding what your friends talking about wordly. Okay, so be responsive here will help a manager to get effective listening during the communication on the business or at the workplace. Then judge the content, not the delivery. So the content will be more important than the way of delivering the message. It is important, guys, to focus on the content, not the delivering, not the way. And then some of us, most of us as a listener, we only focus to the way of the delivering, right? Not the content. So that we can see that we more like the way of the people talking about than the content. What is she or he talk about? Yeah, and it's wrong. We have to improve that. Focus to the content. What the content relates to what is the speaker talk about. Trying to understand what she talk about. Trying to know what is she delivering about. So it is about. The content relate to the about. The about of the communication, not the way of delivery. Because in the real communication, the way of delivering of message could be perceived differently, right? Could be perceived differently. Maybe for you, which is have good mood on your day, your boss instruction can be meant as something that will motivate you, something that will support you. But for you who has a bad mood on that day, your boss instruction could be something, a burden, right? Could be something, a problem. Okay? So please focus on the content, not the delivery. Perhaps I will explain you. There are kinds of any styles of leadership that can influence into the communication. Okay, so focus to the content, not the delivery. Okay, then the next is listen for ideas. Okay, listen. As a good manager, as a good boss, okay, you need to listen more the ideas from your subordinate, from your worker, from your employee. Listen what they are complaining about, what they are talking, what they are suggest about. Okay, so listen more. And then exercise one's mind. Here, exercise. So the meaning of exercise is some activity that relates to physics of ourselves, right? We do the exercise, we do the drilling, we practice of one's mind, of others' mind, because our perception will be different. Each of us has its own meaning, has its own mind in meaning, in getting the meaning, okay? So I see here there are 46 students joining in my presentation this morning, but I'm sure there should be 46 perceptions too. There are 46 different mind of you that mean my presentation, whether you understand or you don't understand what I'm presenting about. So I'm here as a speaker, as a communicator. I should drill of your minds. Yeah, you can see the one's mind or the other's mind here by observing, by listening what's your participants, what's your audience doing, whether your audience just feeling enthusiastic or not, whether your audience will respond your question or not, or they just seems like bored to listen what you are talking about, or they perhaps confused about what you are talking about. So as a good speaker here, we need to see, we need to exercise the situation. But as a good listener, you need to exercise my mind. Oh, this is what Ma'am Susan's talking about. Oh, this is what Hari Rizkyanti's talking mean. Yeah, as if that you are the speaker. So exercise the other's mind will be important for you to increase your listening skills. So these kinds of keys will help you to get effective listening as a manager, as a worker, or as you yourself, because we do listening skills, listening activity in our daily life, right? Okay, that's the previous one is about verbal communication. Then we move to non-verbal communication. Yeah, the other form of communication is non-verbal. So the definition is communication through sending and receiving words, clues. See, the bold one, the red one, wordless. So wordless means that it is without word, but it has clues. It also has meaning. Yeah, it could be by body language, something relates to kinesthetic or physical appearance, and even a touch. When you touch your shoulders friend like this, yeah, it could be something really meaningful for your friend who's got, for example, a problem, right, in his or her life. Okay, so body language, any kinds of body that moves from you, it's called body language. physical appearance, some performance physically out by someone. It's called physical appearance. From your eye contact, yeah, whether do you like me, and then you just state it with your eye contact, ting ting, for example, yeah, you just dip your eye, it means a physical appearance. Or say, then you do up your head, and then you move your head. It's something related to physical appearance. Your hands, you clap your hands. It means that you congratulate to someone, right? Or you go your thumb up. It means that delicious, for example, or it could be excellent. Or you move your finger to the left side, to the right side fastly. It means that, no, this is not what I mean, right? Or you put your finger, you put your one of your finger in front of your mouth. It means, shh, don't be noisy. The baby is sleeping, for example. Any kinds of physical activity that show by you to express your ideas, to express your thought, to express your feelings, to express your value. It's called physical appearance or non-verbal communication. And even a touch, as I said before, touching. You touch your mom's, when your mom's got sick, for example, it means that you love your mother, right? And then you touch your young sisters, you hold him, you hold her, it means that you love her so much, okay? And then you far away yourself from other, it means that you don't like, perhaps you dislike with him or her, right? So any kinds of wordless clues, yeah, wordless clues which has meaning, which has been accepted it generally by people as a symbol, as an information. It is said it is defined as non-verbal communication. Okay, then non-verbal communication mostly is unconscious or subconscious and spontaneous. Yeah, people doing the non-verbal communication unconsciously, they don't be aware that I did my non-verbal communication. So, yeah, as this woman do, she show two kinds of fingers. It means it has meaning, right? And then she puts her finger in front of the mouth, and this one, okay, and this one, and this one, and this one. So these kinds of pictures show us it's done consciously and spontaneously. Okay, in our daily communication, body language, expression, eye contact, we do it directly. We do it unconsciously, yeah, and spontaneously. For example, if you heard something terrible, what expression will you show? Perhaps you will, how's it? Your face will be different, right? Spontaneously and unconsciously. Perhaps you will, what? Or if something surprise, then your eye will be so larger. Wow, amazing. It's unconsciously, and it can be controlled by your mind, by your thought, because it is unconscious and spontaneous. Yeah. Then the message transmitted human actions Messages transmitted human actions and behavior rather than through words. Okay, so in nonverbal communication, the message, the information, the ideas, the facts, the feelings, the thoughts, the values is transmitted by human action and behavior, not through words, because it is nonverbal, without words or wordless. Okay, it is by human action. We do something, we respond the communication by doing something, by our behavior. That's called nonverbal communication. Okay. Then the types of communication. There are two types of communication. It is intrapersonal communication and then interpersonal communication. Intra means internal, inter means between, from someone to another. It's called inter, right? So intra, internal, interpersonal means to others. Okay, let's see more. Okay, what's the meaning of intrapersonal communication? So we can see from the picture that each of us mind full of thoughts, right? Here, full of ideas, full of facts, full of any kinds of information. Oh, can you imagine in someone's mind, there should be millions of thinking, there should be billion of thoughts, ideas, feelings, right? Here, amazingly, someone is able to manage, right? They are able to manage billion kinds of thinkings, million kinds of ideas. Yeah, so that's why, yeah, a crazy man, we can see that a crazy man, orang gila, yeah, they can connect the ideas, a crazy man, because they have million or billion kinds of thinking which cannot connect, right? It is too overload, yeah, too over, the thinking is too over, so they can connect it with their mind. Yeah, it's a crazy man, a crazy person. So intrapersonal communication is a communicator's internal use of language or thought. Okay, it relates to the internal. How's the people sound? How's the people think about any kinds of ideas of himself or herself? It's internal or interpersonal communication. And then some scholars define it as talking out loud to oneself. We talk to ourselves about what we are thinking about. Or it is also said to include one's self-view. Yeah, what's our self-view? What's our self-opinion? What's our self-idea? And we also function as a mediator of intrapersonal process and as an outcome of interpersonal communication. Yeah, when we do the communication with others, with someone else, we also do the intrapersonal communication. We also do the communication with ourselves to get reach the meaning of others' idea, right? Then we try to understand the idea by arranging the mind, the thinking, the ideas, by managing it, and then try by meaning. Okay, so this is the activity or the communication with internal itself is called intrapersonal communication. Yeah. It can be also used to envision internal or interpersonal communication occurring in the mind of individual in a model which contains a sender, receiver, and feedback loop. It means that we try to say something to ourselves and then we try to mean what we are thinking about. We send the information to ourselves and then we receive the information by ourselves too. And then we give the feedback into the loop, right? Into the circle of our communication. So we can say that intrapersonal communication is communicating with oneself. Okay. Then, what about the interpersonal communication? This is the process by which someone with another exchange the information, feelings, meaning through verbal and non-verbal message to reach a goal. Yeah, we define the communication itself, but it is done by which someone with another. So the characteristics of interpersonal communications are, the first one is done by two people or more. Yeah, it should be consisted of minimally 2%. Because if it is only one person, it's called internal communication. Then the second one, there should be a message. It could be information, feelings, values, thought, ideas, any kinds of information, any kinds of message. And then it should be using the media or channel or means. Then I will explain it more. And there should be goal. What's the goal? What's the objective? What's the aim of our communication? Perhaps it's to transferring the information. Perhaps it is to share the ideas. Perhaps it is for sharing the feelings, transferring the values, any kinds of objectives, any kinds of goals. Okay. Now, we can see the goals of interpersonal communication. The first one is for sending the information. We have an important information that should be delivered to others, and then we send orally, written, verbally, non-verbally, send, and then sharing the experience. Yeah? Because in interpersonal communication, we also transfer feelings. We also transfer behavior, the values. So you may share any kinds of experience. Or the third one, for joining cooperation. Doing the cooperation with your customer, your guest, your partner, your colleague, right? It needs to be done in the communication, in interpersonal communication, because it is more than two people to agree about a dealing, to agree about MOU, to get cooperation. And then the fourth one is about telling feeling, telling what you are feeling about sad, good news, bad news, right? It is common in a workplace to tell about the feelings, the situation of working or facing the bad news or the good news, right? So tell the feeling. And then the last one, to support each other. As we know that as a human, we are a social human, a social creature. We need the helps from others, right? We need the response from the other person. We need others' help. It means that we can support, we can motivate to each other. Okay, so these kinds of goals relates to the interpersonal communication. Okay, then how is the communication process? How is the communication done? Okay, how's the process of communication? Let's see. This picture shows us the communication process model. Yeah, let's start from the sender or the communicators. As a sender, you will do your intrapersonal communication. You try to think the ideas that you are going to share to others. You manage your thinking, you manage the words, you arrange the sentences. Yeah, you manage any kinds of thoughts or information that you are going to tell to others. It's called encoding process. So when the sender tries to encode the message by doing his or her intrapersonal communication is called encoding process. Yeah, encoding. The sender tries to encode the message. Try to perceive what I'm going to talk about. Then the listener will understand me. She try to think, and think. And then she's out any kinds of his or her thinking to the channel, to the media, to a means of communication. Okay, it could be verbal, non-verbal, it could be, directly or indirectly, could be orally or written. Then pay attention, the noise, the barrier can be anytime, can be in anything. Perhaps at the sender itself, perhaps at the message itself, perhaps at the channel itself. There should be noisy everywhere. And then as a good communicator, we have to be aware of this noise. I will explain it later. Then after the sender try to encode the message by doing his or her intrapersonal communication, then she or he transfer all this information verbally or non-verbally to others. Then the receiver, yeah, the receiver will try to get meaning. Will try to know what is she talking about. And it is called decoding process. But in this process, it doesn't mean that the receiver without any noise, without any barrier. same as sender, perhaps the receiver will get some problems. The problem with himself, the problem with the process of decoding itself, perhaps the problem with the message itself, perhaps the problem with the channel, the means, any kinds of noises, any kinds of problem. So as a good receiver, as a good listener, we also have to be careful, be aware of some noises or unpredictable noises. Then, after the receiver try to decode the message, we'll see whether the receiver will give feedback or not. Or not is also a feedback. Keeping silence from the receiver is also a feedback which has meaning, which has been understood by the sender. Perhaps it's something confusing for your friends, for your partners, for example, right? If the receiver cannot understand, is not able to get the meaning of the sender's mean, then she will return. She will return encode the message. Yeah. And then also return the message to decode. Then the sender also will sync. Yeah. So the feedback should be given directly or indirectly by the receiver, both with the sender. So this is the communication process house. Then there are some factors. So there are some factors that will influence our communication, whether our communication will be responded, will be understood by the receivers or not. Okay, there are some factors that we have to be prepared. The first one is about the message itself. Make sure what's the aim of your message, what's the purpose, whether it is good news or bad news, for example, in a business activity. Yeah. What's the type of the message? Whether is it clear or confused, or whether it is important or not. So the message is the idea, the information, the thought, the feelings, the value conveyed through speech and facial expression, and then body language, and then tone of voice, and then gestures, and other verbal and non-verbal means. Okay. So what's the aim of the message? It will determine the ideas of the message that clearly. And types of message could be important factor in determining the content, the approach of our communication, whether it is good news, bad news, important, is it urgent, is it an order, is it an instruction, or it's only a request. We need to know, yeah, what's the aim, what's the goal of the message. Okay. Then the second one is the medium or the media, or we called the channel. Yeah. The medium means that it's the medium through which comments happen. The message is sent and received through medium, through a channel, through a means. So the medium is also revered, is also defined as the medium through which message transmitted, which informations transmitted, which ideas transmitted, which values and feelings transmitted. Okay. And then the speech and visions of the channels or medium in a face-to-face communication, where the cable or the electromagnetic waves, yeah, commonly through by telephone, yeah, and then it could be verbal or non-verbal. So how communication will be done effectively or not, it is also influenced by the choosing of medium, by selecting appropriate medium. It could be verbal, face-to-face or non-verbal, or paper-based by email, by letter, business letter, for example, or electronic using phone, or image or visual to show your presentation, for example, yeah, by showing a graphs, diagram, and else. Then value, yeah, value can be something important too in doing our communication. It represents motivational patterns that are relatively stable traits within individuals. So value here related to how someone uses skills effectively in communication. It relates to the motivation. Yeah, it's not only co-workers will appreciate good interpersonal skills. Employers have also noticed their value, and this will have interaction among the people in doing communication. It relates to motivation. What's the motivation of you of doing the communication? It could be relevant, it could be related to the clarity of line management in business communication. And then reflection, whether you understand or do not understand of what you got on your communication. And then coordination and organization of any kinds of business, the link match, the networking. It relates to skills that will impact into the effective communication. And then barrier or noisy, as I explained before, barriers, problems, okay, noises. Yeah, barrier is anything that present successful communication from occurring or miscommunication. Okay, it could be relates to the problem of language itself. Yeah, for example, foreign language, vocabularies, right? Limited vocabularies, limited comprehending of language, limited information, limited knowledge about the language. Okay, and then technical content. The barrier could be related to the technical content. It means that the content of the information itself, the content of the issue, the content of the value, the content of the feelings, the content of the thoughts itself. Yeah, that the message is difficult to be understood, something related to the content. Or the third one, that barriers not recognizing the receiver's need. There is no link and match with what I need. It's not appropriate what I need. This information is not appropriate what I need. I don't need this information. Yeah, perhaps you may say, I don't need this information, so I'm not so interested to listen this information because it's none of my business. It's not relevant with my needs. Okay, so it could be a barrier. If you say something to your friends which it's not interested, yeah, because it's not relevant with his or her needs. Do you understand? So make sure to minimize this one, the receiver's need, whether your message is appropriate, is relevant with the receiver's needs or not. Don't try to push, yeah, don't try to push others by sending him or her any kinds of information that is not appropriate with his or her needs. Yeah, okay. And then the fourth one is about inadequate feedback. Okay. When you are as a receiver, you do not give enough feedback, then it will be a barrier. It will be a problem for a communication. Okay. Because adequate or enough feedback will support, will motivate the sender to prepare the message, to prepare the information that she is going to talk about, that she is going to transmit to others. Yeah, so make sure as a good listener, as a good receiver, try to get enough feedback. As I explained before on how to be an effective listener. Yeah. And then the next one is about emotional interference. It relates to the value, whether you are on bad or good mood when you receive the message, when you receive the information. Are you ready to accept any kinds of information or not? Can you manage your emotional interference or not when you accept this information? Yeah. Perhaps in workplace, when a worker is informed by his director, for example, or a manager about a bad news, yeah, perhaps the worker is got some bad evaluation, yeah, bad evaluation from the boss, then the emotional interference will be there, whether you accept all this bad news well or not. Can you manage your emotion or not? It also will be a barrier. It also will be a problem on the communication. And then the degree of knowledge and expertise of both sender and receiver is also could be some problem in communication. The degree, yeah, the different knowledge the different educational background also, yeah, will influence whether there will be a barrier or not. Yeah. For example, if you are the bachelor degree, yeah, you are a student at the university, then you talk, then you communicate with, how do I say, a person that's just graduate from elementary school. It will be different, right? You are as a university student with your intellectual knowledge of university student, then you talk to someone that's his or her educational background is only till elementary, will be different. You will talk as academic people, as an intellectual person, right? But the others one that graduate from elementary school, for example, is only talking not as an intellectual, as not as well-educated person. Okay, so this degree of knowledge and expertise, both sender and receiver, will also be a problem. Okay, and then the next one is the quantity of information, the number of information. Yeah, perhaps if you involve the message too much out of the capacity of your receiver, it will be overload. Yeah, the receiver will be confused. The receiver will be perhaps broke his minds to catch the ideas of you. And then the next one that will influence to the barrier to the problems of communication is inappropriate medium, is not enough medium. Yeah, medium, as I told you, is relates to the means. Yeah, whether you use this how is it, the platform, you use what kind of platform that you are going to use to communicate. For example, today, this morning, we use the platform of Zoom meeting. Yeah, if the Zoom meetings platform got problem, yeah, we have a barrier, we have a problem of the Zoom itself. Or for example, in Google Classroom or Sibering, yeah, in our system Sibering, we always got problems. For example, the server is down. Yeah, sometimes the signal is poor. So it's the meaning of inappropriate medium, and a kinds of media that is not support our communication process. Okay, then the next one is about lack of trust and honesty. Lack of trust and honesty will influence to our communication. Whether I trust you or not, yeah, it will determine whether I will inform you all of the issues, all of the information or not, right? If I trust you as a good friend, as a close friend, for example, yeah, I will tell you anything that I'm feeling that I did, for example, in a day, because there is no limitation, there is no a barrier between us, because you are my closest friend. But if I don't trust you because you always tell any kinds of message to others, yeah, as we said in Bahasa, she is ember. Do you know ember? Ember bocor, for example. Yeah, it means that she likes to tell any kinds of issues to others, which is not so important to, which is not needed to by the receiver. Yeah, atau we can say it penggosip, for example. Yeah, or gossiper. So I don't like, I think most of us will not give a trust to a gossiper to keep an information, right? So trust and honesty is also something really urgent. So make sure as a good listener, as a good receiver, you can be trusted. You can be responsible with your honesty. Because if you kind of person who always lies to anyone, nobody will trust you. Nobody will believe in you, right? Because you are not honest person. Okay. Then the next one that will influence to the barrier of the communication is about cultural differences. Yeah, cultural differences. The characteristics, the traits of any kinds of region will influence too. In Indonesia, we have more than 25 tribes, which has been unique, right? And it has its own languages. Yeah, it is Javanese, Sundanese, and then Batak, right? And then any kinds of languages and tribes. We are different. Yeah. So this uniqueness of cultural differences also can be a problem in doing our communication. For instance, as far as I know, the solo person, anybody from solo here? The solo person is perceived as a soft person, right? They talk softly, they speak slowly, right? And it is different with Medan, for example, Medan person, for example, yeah? And we know it, right? We know how Medan person talk about, how's the Medan person speaking, yeah? They perhaps speak it loudly, right? They speak fastly, and it is different with the solo person. So this kind of differences will be a barrier too if we do not respect to the others. Okay, so the cultural differences, yeah, mostly found on the marriage problem, on the divorce problem. Do you understand? Sorry, yeah, I'm talking about the divorce of a marriage. Some factors that I have read, some factors that influence the divorce on a marriage is because cultural differences. Yeah, but it's only little. The differences of characters, traits, yeah, from one region to another region, it's not easy to be accepted, and it should be drilled, and it needs respect to the others. Okay, and then the next one is about poor listening skill. That's what I have explained before previously. Yeah, poor listening skills. When you do not listen actively, you do not be responsive, you don't put on someone's mind when you are listening, it will be problems. And also, something relates to your physics, ear. Something problem with your ear will be impact to your listening skills. And then the last is hierarchy. The hierarchy relates to the level, yeah, the level or the stages of someone. the status of the sender and then the receiver. Yeah, for instance, it will be a barrier to if you talk with your boss, for example, yeah, with your manager, then you communicate with your partner as a similar worker in the similar level, for example, right? When you talk with your manager, you need to talk friendly, you need to talk politely, right? You need to arrange the words, you need to arrange your speak, right? But when you talk with your partner, your custom partner, yeah, there is no limitations, right? You may say gua, lu, right? You may say anything without any hierarchy. Okay, so students, these kinds of problems will influence your communication, and it's called barrier or it's called problems. Okay, and barriers is also relates to the message itself. Yeah, the information. Yeah, in how developing the message, yeah, how to state the message, how to receive the message, how to understand the message itself. Then, the next factor is the question to whom. To whom that the message will be sent, to whom that the message will be transmitted, to whom that the message will be informed. Okay. Is it formal? Is it informal? It is delivered in a formal or informal situation. Is it informed to a staff or to your boss or to customer or to shareholders, suppliers, or local community? It will be different approach, right? To whom will be different approach. In such formal situation, when you want to communicate with others in formal situation, you need to prepare it, right? You need to use good sentence, formal sentence, without any, how is it? One, yeah? As I told you, when you speak with your college, yeah, there is no limitation. You may say lugua, but when you say to your boss, you can't say lugua, right? You will be punished. You will be retired, okay? And also to the customers, yeah? When the receiver is your customer, so you have to be careful, right? Because if you don't be careful to talk with your customers, perhaps your customer will leave you and you got punishment from your boss, okay? So to whom that you are talking with should be a factors that you have to be prepared. Then the rule of ICT, yeah, information, communication, and technology. So students, as we know that ICT today has some effects, yeah, on communicators. By ICT, it can enable speed of communication, and also it can be more cheaper, yeah, it can be cheaper and save the cost, right? And then it can seem impersonal, yeah, whether it relates to the speed, the accuracy, the clarity, whether it is impersonal or personal, yeah, and then about the cost, it will be more efficiency. Then we don't use the ICT, right? Okay. So In conclusion, the dangers of ineffective communication. So if we don't prepare to have effective communication, you will be a danger of ineffective communication. As we know that manager spends most of their time in communicating. So both manager and his subordinate or his worker must be effective communicators. So whether you will be a boss, whether you will be a manager or worker, we must be an effective communicators. How's the way? Yeah. Select an appropriate medium for each message and pay attention with 5W, yeah, and 1H. What's the meaning of 5W and 1H? With whom do you talk with? Where are you speaking at? When do you talk? And then, what are you talking about? And then, what, when, where, who, why are you talking this topic? Yeah. What is the message? Where are you speaking at? When are you talking? Yeah. Why are you talking this? Whom are you talking with? And how? How's the way? Even I said previous that as a good listener, we just focus to the content, not the how to deliver. If your position as a listener, but if your position as a communicator, you need to pay attention with how, because it will impact to your communication. Whether you transfer your information angrily, yeah, or sadly, or happily, it will be responded by your worker differently, right? So pay attention to the what, where, when, why, who, and how your communication. Okay. Then students, talking about communication, we also talking about leadership. And Joseph Locke and Harry Ingham, on their book, Management of Organization Behavior, they said about personal leadership that's called Johari Window. Yeah. Johari Window is an abbreviation of Joseph Locke and Harry Ingham. Window means this one. It's like a window. Yeah. It has 4 room. It has 4 column. And it's called window. Because it is not easy, students, to understand and to be understood by others in our communication. And it's not easy to communicate with others, to be a communicator and to be a receiver. It's not easy. Yeah. So Joseph Locke and Harry Ingham make a theory that's called Johari Window. This window can be applied in communication in the workplace between manager and the staff. And it relates to emotional intelligence and how someone communicate with others, also described in Johari Window matrix. Yeah, perhaps all of you ever read this matrix, Johari Window matrix. Yeah, let's see the first room. The first matrix is called public area or open area. Yeah, It is to known to self and to known to others. This matrix reflects to behaviors, motives, and then attitudes, knowledge, skills of individual that he is aware of and is willing to share it with others. Yeah, this open self is characterized as a state wherein the individuals open and straightforward to himself and to others about what he is doing, about how he is doing, and about what are his doing, what is he doing, yeah, what are his doing. It means that in this metric, you open to yourself, you aware what I'm having, you aware of what's my likenesses, what's my potentials. I know myself, but also I know about everyone. I know my friends. Then I open, then let me share what I know to you. Then let me share what you know to me. There is feedback. There is a two-way communication because I open to myself. I know my likenesses. I know my potential. Then I want to share to you. Then you need to know what I have. Then vice versa. Yeah, this is the first matrix. And then the second matrix called blind area. Yeah, blind area means it's a matrix that he unknown to self, but he known to others. Yeah, it shows that the state of an individual known to self, unknown to self, sorry, she don't know, he doesn't know about himself, but she knows about others. She knows about the issues of others, but she doesn't know about himself. Yeah. When an individual or a subject copies the behavior of someone of some significant personality unconsciously, yeah, he don't care about himself. He doesn't know what's my potential, what's my likenesses. But he likes to criticize others. But he likes to gossip others, to tell others. But he doesn't like to tell about himself. And the impact of the communication, the people that communicate with him or her will make some limitations. There's a distance that I have when I speak with him. I have to be careful. Okay, so it will be not comfortable. Then the third one is private or hidden area or hidden matrix. Yeah, in this matrix, the communicator is known to self. Yeah, he knows the potential of himself. He knows the likenesses of himself, but he doesn't want to know about others. It's none of my business. It's none of my problem. So I don't care about the situation. I don't care about my environment. Yeah, in this metric is generally seen in the individual who are introvert and don't like to share ideas with others, with anyone. The individual keep his feelings. He keeps the ideas, he keeps the thought just only for himself. Yeah, because he doesn't like to disclose in front of others. He doesn't like to show, yeah, himself in front of others. But this matrix also rather disliked by when doing communication. Why? Because someone who is introvert, he doesn't like to share the ideas. How can the communication will open, right? If he's in introvert situation, if he's put all his ideas on his mind, okay, we can say it's a selfish person, right? And then the fourth matrix is labeled as unknown area. This matrix shows that the person doesn't know to himself, and he also doesn't know to others. Yeah, it is a mysterious state of individual. Yeah, mysterious. We don't know. It cannot be predicted. It cannot be known. Yeah, often the feelings, the thought, the ideas go so deep down to someone that it is difficult for individual as well as for others to understand. We can say, I myself do not understand. What about the others will understand what I mean? So in Freudian psychology, called it is iceberg. Do you know iceberg? Gunung es. It's cool. It can be reached by others, right? Gunung es, can you imagine Gunung es, the iceberg? Yeah, it's a horror. It's cool, really cool. Yeah, and in communication, the person in this matrix cannot communicate to himself and to others, and he can't be a leader because, yes, we don't know, right? Or we can say it's a crazy matrix, right? A crazy man is on this matrix. Okay. In business communication, we also talk about the leadership style. Yeah. Now, what's the leadership style? It is the way how a leader influences, directs, motivates, and control his staff to reach the goal effectively. And leadership style will influence the communication too. Yeah. The leadership style of your boss, of the manager, of the leader of a company will influence the communication at the workplace. So Ludlow and Penton state there are 4 styles of leadership that observed has been done by some leaders in some companies. The first one is directing style. Yeah, it is for followers without experience yet and complex works. If your followers, if your worker is fresh graduate, have no experience, and then in one side, the job description of the work is so complicated, then as a good communicator, you just direct him, direct your worker, guide him. Okay, and then the second one is coaching. Coaching style is for follower with enough experience and enough motivation. Yeah, your worker is not newbie. Yeah, but his experience is not so much, and your worker still need motivation. So just doing coaching style. Okay, as a coach, giving guidance, right? Different with directing. Directing, we guide, yeah, detailed. We direct, we give instruction detailed. But in coaching, it's not. Yeah, we give him motivation. And then the third one is supporting style. Supporting style is for followers who knows the techniques detailed and able to develop good relationship with the leader. It's kind of employer, it's kind of worker that perhaps she has been known about the rules, about the job descriptions, yeah, and she can communicate with leader well. So you just give him support, just give him motivation that you can, without me, you can do it. You can do some detailed techniques of the job. Okay, and then the fourth one is delegating. Delegating leadership style is for followers who understand the job well and trust it. If your worker has been an expert on the job and trusted, yeah, so delegate him to represent, yeah, you yourself. For example, in handling the meeting, without you as a manager, the meeting still can be run well. So you delegate one of your worker to handle the meeting, okay? Then, I'm so sorry, yeah, I still have materials that I have to tell you. It's also Douglas McGregor said a leadership style which influence to the communication is about X and Y theory. Douglas and McGregor state that kinds of worker is consisted of two types. It is the worker X and the worker Y. In X perception, the work is so distasteful. I don't like working. I hate Monday. Yeah, I hate working. I'm just working for getting the money. Yeah, if I have much money, I shouldn't work, right? So work is distasteful. I dislike working. That's on X perception. Whether on Y perception, work is as natural as playing and favorable. It's my hobby and I love working. I love Monday. I like Monday. It's kind of person who like Monday, who like working. It's Y person. And then XY, yeah, X person, X worker think that people are not ambitious. Yeah, he has little desire for responsibility and prefer to be directed. I will work if my boss direct me. I will do if my boss instruct me. If he doesn't instruct me, I'm doing nothing. Yeah. I don't have any ambition for getting anything. Yeah. But the Y worker think that self-control is often used in achieving organizational goals. She can control. She knows. She has ambition to reach something. Yeah. And then she has good responsibility and not to like to be directed, but she do it by himself because he has self-control. And then the third one, the ex-worker think motivation occurs only at the psychological and safety level. I'm working just for eating. I'm working just for getting money, no more, and also for safety. Yeah, moreover, in this pandemic COVID-19 situation, I'm working for the health of my family, no more. But the Y worker think that motivation occurs at social, esteem, and self-actualization, as well as psychological and security levels. They don't work only for getting money. They work not only for get food, for get dress, for get home, no. But he needs the work to socialize, to increase the self-esteem, to get self-actualization, to be benefit for others. And then the last one, the X theory think that most people must be closely controlled. So the boss should be controlled, should be observed. and often pressured to achieve the organizational objectives. That's X perception. But Y, worker perception, that people can be self-direction and creative at work if properly motivated. The worker thinks, I will be a creative worker if my boss motivate me, facilitate me, and I can be so creative to do all my jobs. Yeah, so both this X and Y workers' perception, should be handled by a manager, should be handled by a leader of a company in order to know what's the best communication way. Yeah. Then this one, the strength and the weakness, you can see, guys, you can read by yourself. Yeah, there must be X strength and also Y strength, and then the weakness of X and Y worker. Both of them has its strength and its weakness. So that because of both of them has the strength and the weakness, the leadership style, that the leader should be direct, coach at the X person, and support and delegate to the Y worker. And the communication way, the best communication way is to the X worker, it should be top-down instruction, whether to Y is two-way communication. Okay. Now, Hersey Blanchard state there is no the best one for all. Yeah, it depends on the environment, the worker, the program, the purpose, and the time to the job. Yeah, for the new worker, theory X, the X theory is better. But for the old workers who have worked for a long time, Y theory is better. Okay, so this is the references that I have explained you all, students. It has been more than 5 minutes, my explanation. I hope you understand what I explained before, because it is really important for you, especially in understanding the theory of communication, from the definition of communication, and then the form of communication, and then the type, which is verbal, and then non-verbal communication, and then how is the process of communication, what factors will influence the communication itself, in order to make effective communication, and also leadership style, which will influence to the communication between manager and the subordinate, that you have to be known and to be understood. Well, I think that's all my explanation today. If you have some questions or something that you still do not understand, let's share your ideas. Thank you so much. Safira, would you please to stop the recording?